Now, specific tax is imposed on the producers. They make the supply curve shift like this. But when the tax has been imposed, the question is, who bears the burden? And it's called, in theoretical, in the books and all the chapters, it's called incidence of tax, or the burden of tax. Same thing, burden of tax. Okay, like when this indirect tax is imposed on a good, who bears the burden for it? So उसके लिए पहले तो tax को in a very simplistic way, okay, in a very simplistic way, let's see how we make the distinction of how much the consumer pays, how much the producer pays, and how much goes to the government in it. Okay, so yeah, so there's lots of diagrams that we're going to be talking about right now. First, I'll start with the simple basic one, a simple demand curve, a normal demand curve, a normal supply curve with the equilibrium quantity and an equilibrium price. Okay, now an indirect tax has been imposed. So as we just did, jitne se bhi tax laga, we're going to shift the supply curve upwards by the tax rate or shift to the left. We have a new equilibrium price and the quantity shifts to the left. Okay, now what is the tax rate? Let's mark the tax rate on the new equilibrium point, because the quantity has been reduced, right? The quantity has been reduced, so all readings is going to happen over here on the new equilibrium price. So over here we want to see, okay, what's the tax rate? The red line is the tax rate. So jahan pe bhi wo supply curve pe end hoti hai, I'll just put a point over here, and this is what I'm going to do. Okay, so now this is what we have. The vertical distance is the tax rate. So what I've done over here is I've imposed an indirect tax, shifted the supply curve by the tax rate. My new equilibrium P1 Q1. The vertical distance shows the tax rate, but the consumer price went from A to B, that is PO to P1, which is a proportion of the tax. So that's the consumer burden, because consumer prices went up by this much. The leftover of the tax is the producer's burden. You multiply it with the quantity, the tax rate into the quantity, that's an entire government tax region, of which consumer burden is this and the producer's burden is that.